Hello, everybody. Welcome to the NVIDIA Omniverse live stream. We are very excited to have two very special members of the community today. Matthew Schwartz from NJIT. Hey, Matthew.
Hello.
And, and Tanya Langner, also from the community. How are you doing, Tanya?
Hiya. All good, thank you.
Joining us from UK, and I have to say, special thanks to Tanya. It is a little later for her, being in the UK, and her husband is in the other room right now preparing a nice dinner. So we're gonna let her go first in a second. But today we're gonna talk about Rhino and OpenUSD. The latest update to Rhino 8 has great support for USD that they keep building on. So looking forward to more in the future. But we wanted to really celebrate. There's an upcoming blog focused on this as well. We'll share that in the community once it's live. But we really wanted to kind of show people kind of what people are doing with Rhino and how OpenUSD plays into some workflows. I'm joined by my great co-host here, Richard. Hey, Richard.
Hey, how's it going?
He was just telling us about why don't you tell us really quick about that very special T-shirt you're wearing?
Oh no, I'm just saying this is an old NVIDIA T-shirt from many moons ago when the Iray renderer first came out. So I used to help demo the Iray renderer back in the day.
Yeah, and anyone who knows Richard from the forums and on our Discord knows that he's an expert in rendering. So, and this is one of the reasons why. So it's great to always have him here with us. Feel free to post your comments and questions in the chat. We'll be watching. My co-producer on the show, Amelia, is helping in the background, and she'll be posting some links as we go forward, starting with GTC, which is on screen right now. GTC is literally just weeks away at this point, and we're actually have a nice call out there. Well, two things. One is there's a lot of sessions that will support virtual, and it's free for virtual, which is awesome. So if you can't make it out to California for GTC in March, you can attend the show virtually, but you must register to have access to the virtual content. And once you're registered, you also have access to some of the sessions which are not virtual, but will be available live very shortly after GTC. But you only have access right away if you're registered. If you're not registered, you're gonna have to wait a lot longer than everybody, than if you were. The other thing is that there's a nice discount available if you use our referral code. Amelia will put that there, and then that gets you, I believe, it's like 25% discount or something on GTC. There's also an even better discount. You can't use both of them at the same time. There's a better one if you've attended GTC before. So if you went last year, as in a virtual at the virtual GTC or the year before, just register with that email that you used, and you'll be eligible for that alumni discount link, which is pretty amazing. So we do hope that as many of you out there can attend, will attend. Maybe if you're in the area, or if you have the ability to come fly out and hang out there. There's going to be a lot of value for being there in person, not only getting to be part of the sessions live and ask your questions, but also for the networking potential that happens with the session presenters, with the larger NVIDIA dev team. The Inception team will be there. The many partners of NVIDIA. Obviously, we're very focused on AI. So if you're doing that kind of work there, it's really going to be the place to go. A lot of the world will be watching what happens at GCC, and we'd love to you there to be there with us. That is so that's coming up in just a few weeks. So everyone, and if you're going, I'd love to help set up meetings if I can help, or meet with you myself. So reach out to me, edmar@nvidia.com. I'd love to do that. The Isaac Sim and Ross office hours are in full effect every Wednesday. For everyone there who's working with Isaac Sim or Ross, please make a note of this, because you can ask your questions live. Not only did they present a few features on each live stream, but they take your questions live, and they've been a lot of fun. Highly recommend if you're working with Isaac, you attend one of those live streams. And then we're going to, at GTC, we're going to have an OpenUSD day, but we also, to support USD learning, we actually have this great YouTube series that Aaron Luck has put together. It's available on as a YouTube playlist. Really nice bite-sized videos to really make the most of OpenUSD and learn the power of it. So, okay, let me stop sharing this screen. Very happy to have you both here today. Thank you so much for coming. Why don't we go around and do some quick introductions? People who have been watching the live stream for a while probably will know Richard, but even so, Richard, why don't you give a little bit of your background and what you're doing at NVIDIA today? And I think you're muted, or there you go.
Yes. Yeah, I've been rendering most of my life, really. Just love the pixels, love to get gorgeous images, and grew up rendering all kinds of scenes and architecture, all kinds of renderers, and discovered the NVIDIA Mental Ray and the NVIDIA iRay. And several years later, I work with the Omniverse team to make sure their rendering technology is as good as it can be and offer my expertise. And so now I'm here as the community manager, trying to help, as I say, get people back to work. If you get stuck, come to the forums, find out why you're stuck, and get back to work.
And that is a great also reminder to, we have a call to action, people. If you would like to show off your work and potentially be included in Jensen's big keynote at GTC, we are looking for creators and developers out there to submit your content. So there's a form, we'll post it in the chat. If you're interested in submitting your work, and if you're selected, you will be seen by many, many people all over the world during that opening keynote reel. It's going to be pretty mind-blowing. So we'd love to include your work out there if you're interested. I'm sure, Tanya, we were just talking about this before. Hopefully Tanya's going to submit her work, because Tanya has some of the beautiful work I've seen from the community. We're so honored to have you here, Tanya. Why don't you tell anybody who might not be familiar with your previous appearance here a little bit about your background?
Well, thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here. And my background is industrial design. I have been working in the industry for the past 25 years. Firstly, I started off doing a lot of sketching, but then I went and did loads of CAD modeling and rendering. And I like rendering a lot as well. So it's kind of my passion too. I came across the Omniverse USD Composer Christmas the year before last.
Yeah, with the community challenge, right? Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, because I just loved it. What is
Tanya
that?
has been posting her work on the Discord server, so we have a cool channel called Community Challenges, and then you can go there and scroll through history, and you'll see work from Tanya and others in the community who have been submitting some beautiful stuff to respond to the challenges. So really happy to have you here. And Matthew Schwartz. So Matthew is also no stranger to the live stream, although he's only come on once, but he's even though I ask him almost every week. So I'm very happy he's here today. He actually has a really nice show and tell for us. So Matt, why don't you tell everybody a little bit your background and let everybody know who you are.
Yeah, currently I'm an assistant professor at NJIT, New Jersey Institute of Technology in New Jersey. I'm in the art and design and architecture college, so we do everything from industrial design, digital design, interior design, architecture. And my master's was in digital technologies within architecture, where I did a lot of research in human factors. And my goal is, like, how do we study human factors in order to incorporate design feedback? So like industrial designers designing a chair or product, how do we understand what it's going to be like in simulation? And that's where Omniverse and USD have really been key to, like, what I'm trying to do with new research projects.
Oh, now
sorry, you finished. Sorry, no, you finished talking right as I was about to share my screen. So a pop-up happened. I couldn't unmute myself in time. I was about to share my screen because I wanted to actually show the webpage for Rhino, but let me do that now. But yeah, Matt, and so right now you actually have been involved with Omniverse also for a long time. You were one of our earliest users from education background. And you have been super helpful to the team in giving us good feedback, and also you've been leveraging a lot of different tech in Omniverse, including Warp. I'm hoping one day I'll get you and Miles Macklin together in a room together. But yeah, so thank you for being such a great member of the community. Matt is also very active on our Discord, helping people. He just helped someone this morning, I think, who wants to work with LiDAR. So great to have you both here. So why don't we, for anyone out there who may not be familiar with Rhino, just in general, let's start with that, and then we'll move over to kind of sharing some workflows, how you both use it. So what is Rhino? Like who would normally use it? And you want to take a pass at it first, Tanya?
Well, I came across Rhino because I did a lot of CAD modeling, which was back in the olden days quite separate from polygon modeling, because you had to provide certain exports for CNCing and everything, and tool making. And my old software, when I went freelance, suddenly went onto subscription, and I couldn't afford it anymore. So I was looking around, and Rhino was there and saved me, actually. So I could finally do some CAD modeling again, which was great. And I discovered loads of different levels of Rhino, which I probably have only touched the surface of. And it's got a great addition to it, which is Grasshopper, which is parametric modeling, where you can create mathematical patterns and complex structures and surfaces, and then make something out of that. And recently, because I've went more into using Blender and using ZBrush for sculpting, so I'm trying to combine it all. And I had some use for getting meshes back into Rhino and then converting them to NURBS, which is now possible with first going quad remeshing sub-D, and then you can actually create a NURB surface out of it again, which is still useful. So it's just such a powerful tool, and yeah, I love using it.
That's a great overview. And as you were talking, some of the stuff was actually on the screen from their website, including Grasshopper there. So there now. Matt, and tell me more about your use of Rhino and kind of how you would kind of describe it to folks.
Yeah, when I was in school, we used Rhino quite a bit. So there's a couple of programs, and definitely in architecture, parametric modeling was kind of a new thing that people were getting really into, especially because of Grasshopper. I really liked it because it became a Python 3D modeling software for me. So you have a Python API, and you're able to really quickly create geometry and interact with things, bring in different types of geometry. Like Tanja was saying, you have NURBS and meshes. And the idea of a NURBS or B-splines, things behind it are mathematical equations. So you can interact a little bit more at a code level with those things, and it's a little simpler. So bringing in design workflows, you have like a kitchen model that an interior designer is working on. And some example of past research was, how do you predict injuries from someone falling in the kitchen? How do you know whether the kitchen island is in a good location or not, and task planning. So that's really, Rhino's been a kind of research platform for us.
That's awesome. That's a great description. And I think it is, as you noted, it is a development platform, so very flexible. All right, so now let's take a look to see, you guys are obviously using it for very different reasons. And let's start off with Tanja so we can get her to her nice Valentine's Day dinner. So Tanja, did you want to share your screen?
Yes, let me see. Share screen.
Edmar is muted again.
Sorry, I am. I should just keep my finger off of it. For anyone out there, as we wait for Tanja's screen, I see it coming right now. Feel free to post your questions or comments in the chat. And I think I see your screen now. Wow, look at this.
Right. So there is something I've done before. This is just personal work I've done with Rhino over the last few years. Because if I work for a company or for another design agency, everything is highly NDA'd usually, and I can only share it when it's been published. And to have a nice portfolio, I did a lot of work, just for myself, and I posted it on Instagram and stuff like that. And so I've done quite a bit of parametric modeling. If I zoom in here, my husband, who you've mentioned before, he makes recycled panels out of rubbish or unrecyclable plastics. So we did this project where I created this parametric bench, which kind of uses his panels. And I can show you in Rhino how that file was put together.
Very cool. Did
then,
that bench actually get made?
Not in that form yet, but hopefully it will.
Work in progress. Very cool.
It is work in progress, yeah. And when I got into the whole grasshopper setup, and there is loads of tutorials on YouTube, very kind people showing how they do it, because I don't think I could do it from scratch. But if I have a pattern in mind, I can actually look it up, and then I can copy what they are doing and adapt it to my own needs, which is great. And so I kind of just did more and more shapes that I really liked, and I used it for render challenges, like this lamp here, or making that is a parametric grasshopper model that I can scale and adjust, and it has this wonderful shape here, and so on and so forth. So I use that a lot for fun, the grasshopper side of it. Or if I show you this one, it's got this kind of pattern on the glass bottle, which is I couldn't have done that in my old CAD software. It would have driven me crazy.
That's
but
great.
It's just kind of such a straightforward way of applying patterns, and it makes my life so much easier. And also I do normal modeling. If I need to get something in a render or so, I can just model a glass, or I can model something else and then get it out to a render engine. So yeah, that's the pretty pictures. Let me see if I can hop over to Rhino. You see that? Yeah.
Yeah, that looks good.
So that's the bench with its panels. And if I turn the panels off and that, and I drag my grasshopper over, and so here you can see that's the grasshopper plugin that then lets me change my geometry on the fly. So if I want to have excuse my dodgy moving around, I have real issues with getting different controls for the keyboards in different apps. I get very confused if I use a new app.
I know the feeling.
So this slider, for example, it's how many panels I have, and I think this one is the thickness. So my husband's panels, for example, they're 90 mil. So I can add those parameters to my design. The code looks a bit messy with my noodles there, but it does the job. And then at the end of it, I can bake this and make it into real geometry. So if I put that away and I go back to my panels, here. So this is what I can then make into real geometry, and I can also, if I show you, make a cutting pattern for each of those panels. So when we CNC all of those, they are in order, and it's all easy to get produced, and then I can line them up. If I find them, lines. So I can line them up on the boards that are to be cut out, and see how many I can fit in and how many boards we need. So that was one project that I really enjoyed, and I can actually
very cool.
I just quickly hop over into the USD Composer, because.
And how did you learn Rhino? Did you just do it on your own, or use their tutorials or documentation?
I did it a while ago when it was Rhino 5, I think, and the way I did it, I bought it with a retailer, and I did a course with them at the same time. So it was like a 3 days course in London, just to get myself started on it. And sometimes it's just great if you have a proper introduction to a new software. So just hop over to USD Composer quickly. So with the new USD settings, you export it from Rhino as a USD file, and then you get it into the Composer, And as it's so easy here to just set up a quick environment, and then you can find some wood, for example, and drag it on, and just see what it actually looks like. Because I find in Rhino it's quite hard to get a good visual out, and I prefer to do it here and have the real-time render take care of that. And it's literally just a few clicks of the button, and you can have a really nice visual for that. If I pop back to Rhino, I can show you another. So this is a teapot that I've just built in Rhino, like a normal kind of build. And when you select everything and then say export selected, now you have the magic USD button to export, and you save it as a USD set file, and then in the composer you can then find your file, and stream this. Go to recent ones. So that's how it comes in, and then it's a really quick way of setting up materials. And again, it's just a way of quickly visualizing in real time what your product looks like. And I think that's so valid for any product designer, industrial designer, to just go in there, and then you can change your colors. I do like rendering so much. So yeah.
Very nice. Richard, what would you do with this teapot? Richard, I'm sure Richard always looks at something like, what can I do?
No, I love to see people's workflow. It's great to see how people use the software in slightly different ways. There is no right or wrong. So it makes me want to get a cup of tea, And now it's interesting. Just on materials workflow is very personal to individuals. So Tanya was dragging in materials individually and assigning the same material to different parts, but then she could individually change those colors, which I thought was very smart. So she's kind of having like a base material of porcelain, correct? And then you're changing the color to make it your own. So I like that approach. The other way you could do it is drag one material in, and then once the material's in your stage looks folder, you can then select the whole thing and drag it over. But of course, then they're all linked to the same color. So I like the way that you did that, Tanya.
Thank you. But I used Keyshot a lot in the past, and that's exactly how you would quickly get a render done, just by assigning materials like that. I do love other ways, like using Substance Painter now and things like that as well. But this is very familiar. What I've always done. So I do like that. And setting up a simple scene is very straightforward. And what I love doing here, and just to make a render or just a product visualization more clear, or more understandable. And the teapot isn't a very complex product, to be fair, but I can get my timeline up. Move that over here. And then you know, you can literally just keyframe your objects and do a very quick animation, explosion. You know, it's very versatile, I find.
That's great. Very cool. Nice compliments in the chat on your great eye, and for designing proportions, from Eric. Thanks for that. And I think there's some questions chat about the level of OpenUSD support that currently exists and the existing connectors. So my understanding is that, and we are actually we do plan to have the Rhino dev team on in March. I think we're shooting for March 6th. So we'll have them back. Right now they're in release mode, so they're really focused on engaging and working on the latest updates. So we'll have some time to question them directly in a few weeks on the live stream. But my understanding is right now that there is evolving support for OpenUSD, and they're still adding and building onto it. So consider this kind of like, you know, a nice celebration launch, and then with more news to come, and more support. So we'll have those guys on in a few weeks to chat with them. Let me see. And here's a question we got from Paul. Anyone wants to take this one? Do you have specific workflows to work with custom material libraries?
Well, I don't have any. I don't have any custom materials apart from this material library, which is here with Omniverse. But I know there are some in Blender, and I always thought I should really make one, but I've never actually come around to do them. So yeah, I kind of make materials up on the fly, to be honest. Or I use materials that exist and look great and then customize them.
And I think whatever works best, whatever you're doing works great, because your portfolio looks amazing. Very cool. Thank you, Tanya. This is super cool to see how you kind of jump in and out, leveraging OpenUSD with Rhino and with USD Composer. Thanks again for coming out on this special evening across the world. So I'll let you go and enjoy your nice dinner that smells good. I can smell it from here. It smells pretty good. You must be a good chef.
I'm really faint now. Yeah, no.
Happy Valentine's.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. And
anytime, Tanya.
I'm gonna watch the rest.
Great.
When it's on YouTube.
Okay. Thanks, Tanya.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thanks. Okay, so that was really cool. So keep your questions coming in the chat, and we're gonna pivot over to Matthew Schwartz from NJIT. And let me see, I had this open a second ago. Let me fix it. Matt was featured in a blog not too long ago. When was it? In December. So late last year. Let me just go full screen on this. So we'll post this link from the chat. I think Amelia might have already posted this a few minutes ago in the chat. But if you want to read more about Matthew's background and his project, which he's going to show in his second part of, we're going to kind of show this on the screen really quick. There we go. There's a link, and here's a sneak peek at it. Really cool information in this blog that Nicole worked on with Matthew. I have to shout out to the writing team, and Nicole especially. Really, really fantastic job showcasing the work that's been doing people are doing in the world with this technology. Anyway, so Matt, tell me about this this blog a little bit. So you obviously you've got a lot to show and tell here with this amazing building, and it revolves around accessibility, right?
Yeah, the two projects, there's so many different things that I've been working on that are all tied around human factors and improving design. This building was a long-term research project. We were looking at how to make a navigation graph. So people familiar with gaming development have navigation meshes. Unity has a nav mesh, and Isaac Sim has a nav mesh. This was research on navigation graphs. We can kind of understand the environment for slope and step, but we can also do things like cross slope and a little more fine-grained tuning of how someone could move on a space with a wheelchair or crutches or elderly. We have a project with the NSF that's looking at all of this work and how we can apply it to human perception and integration with design tools. So that's a lot of this. We can do point of interest, visibility graphs. So that's like the colored nodes is from all the locations to one location, and pathfinding. So today I was going to show a little bit of this project moved into Grasshopper. So
Very
we'll
cool.
start with that.
Let me see it. Yeah, so we have this. That's video number 8, actually. But right, we play that one first.
Yep.
Okay, so here we go, and I think Matt's going to talk us through this. So here it is.
So this is the open source project. You can kind of click on the docs and go here. What I was showing was the same thing as that blog, which was done in Omniverse. This one is done in Rhino using Grasshopper. So the new Rhino 8 and Grasshopper integration uses regular CPython, which means like I can take my own project and bring it straight into Grasshopper, and within Grasshopper, just kind of copy and paste my tutorials, and then use it as a way to make an interface, like a graphical interface to the settings and parameters. So here, this navigation builder will let me set like the max number of nodes or the height or the upslope, downslope. So the code is all the same. On the right, all the black dots get generated on the building, and that shows accessible locations with what these settings are. I kind of deleted that, increased the maximum number of places that we can search, generated again. And then there's 3 different dots inside of this building. So once I hide all the mesh stuff, you can see the points are going to be highlighted by Grasshopper in green, and they're being referenced by the point. So as I move it, the secondary node called getPath is creating a red line. And that red line is just the shortest path between 2 different points. Because it's in Grasshopper, it's updating all the time. So we kind of get this real-time generation of paths throughout the building wherever you find it. The idea of the research is that we could change these settings so that you minimize the energy instead of just the metric distance. So, how does a person's least amount of energy move in the space, or are there objects or obstacles in their way that we could redesign products or pieces of the environment that facilitate their navigation, their movement. So that's kind of a little connection between what the article talked about and then showing how it only took me about 2 hours to move everything from that project into Grasshopper. And this is just showing the code. It's like 200 lines of code, which is mostly copying the tutorial online.
I mean, it's so fascinating to see how you actually make something like this, and super valuable information and data. Very cool. And anyone who's watching this, who's just jumping in, we're talking to Matthew Schwartz from NJIT, leveraging Rhino and OpenUSD workflows for research work in this case, and accessibility. So very cool. And then, so Matt, you have you also leveraged a little something that I hear is called ChatGPT, which is all the rage. So this is video number 1, right?
Yeah, I think we can just place some of the videos and I'll talk through them.
Okay.
Whether it's what is going on the screen or not. But there's this new feature in Rhino, Rhino 8 called shrink wrap. And the idea was it could take a mesh or a collection of points and create a surface or model after it. And as a fun game, I wanted to get geometry made. And because my last name is Schwartz, I decided the geometry I should make is the Schwartz primitives.
Of course.
It's just suited. And I kept asking ChatGPT, the whole goal was I never wanted to write any of the code in order to make the objects inside of Rhino. And ChatGPT does have a pretty good understanding of the Rhino scripting language, so Rhino geometry and Rhino script syntax. So it was giving me, here's the surface, here's the model, and I just kept asking it. Even if I knew what the problem was, I would just ask it again, like fix that block of code, fix that part. It's not scaling correctly. It's not doing that. And so I was thinking through this. If you use Python or scripting, you have a lot of capabilities that might go beyond whatever the tool itself currently has as a feature. So I think it would be pretty hard to get to get ChatGPT to figure out how to make curves that they can sweep to create a shape that you're thinking of. But I found that it was pretty useful for asking it to make points. So here's the idea of the shape that I want. Now, can you create a function that would take that shape and volumetrically scatter points with inside of it. And this is all going to lead to the idea of the shrink wrap tool in Rhino. So I think as this goes, it was just, in the end, it took longer to explain to it than if I just did the code myself. But that's because I already know how to code. If you've never known, then
Right. So
things like,
you think this would be super helpful for people who are less experienced?
yeah, exactly. It would tell me how to do something, and I said, do it. And so then it would write the code. Sometimes you just have to tell it what to do.
Very impressive, though.
Yeah, so I think we can go to the next video, and it just kind of continues off from here. Yeah, so taking that code, I just copy and paste exactly what ChatGPT gives, and this is the shorts function. So I think this is the P or gyroid shape. So it just generated that point cloud. I didn't write any script. And then there's this new in V8 tool in Rhino, the shrink wrap tool. And you set like the target edge lengths. So here I'm just setting the edge lengths in a preview. It starts to wrap the mesh, and then you can keep decreasing the target edge length until you get to about the size of your point cloud. And you get this really nice geometry that I think would be really, really difficult. I don't know. There might be people out there yelling like, "Oh, Grasshopper already has this. It's super easy." Yeah. I'm sorry. But for me, I thought this was nice that ChatGPT could make a point cloud, or it can make a mathematical function and then sample the function itself. And I think Tanya was talking about this sub-D tool earlier, that you can create NURBs and you can move from mesh to another type of surface. So here, I'm using that, I forgot the name of the tool, some sub-D tool, and it creates this perfect type of solid geometry that you move from a mesh to a nice surface, and that will work well in smoothing operations.
Very cool. We have, Eric's very impressed here in the chat. He'd love to take a look at the dialogue.
Okay, there might be some cursing, but
I think it's understandable and okay.
I get frustrated with AI sometimes.
That's wild, though. Very cool, though. Pretty amazing. Okay, let me see. So we've got another one here. We're up to what is number 3, right?
Yeah, I think we could just keep bouncing through them. So I think this was just scrolling through the whole chat log. So I guess you could slow down on YouTube and then try to read the whole chat log.
There you go, Eric.
Yeah, and this was mostly trying to go through and say, I want this more parameters, or I want not one of these surfaces, but let me replicate them. Let me do this or that with the surface. So I think the next one kind of shows a little bit of that. Maybe here's a whole code, and I think I modify here. Oh, here I was tapering. Yeah, so I wanted to create a circle, and I wanted to take that primitive and copy it, taper the edges so they all fit inside of my specified radius. And then after doing that, I was thinking this would be a really cool jewelry object, something with industrial design. So ChatGPT helped me do all the tapering functions, and then I created some like cylinders that were also point clouds, just to stay with the spirit of point cloud and volumetric decisions. So as the point clouds all get generated together, when all of them are selected, and we use this new tool in V8, the shrink wrap tool, they're all considered with this geometry, with this mesh. So here I'm showing, instead of taking the object and kind of like Boolean them all together, all the point clouds meshed together will create one single continuous object. So that was originally some idea for kind of a ring, and then I think I just end up selecting both of them.
Wild.
So have you got ChatGPT to actually create a mesh and just bypass the point cloud need, or is the point cloud a way of working with very accurate data?
Yeah, the mesh was a disaster. When ChatGPT was trying to create a mesh, it would try to create triangles that described the surface. and it would just end up with weird triangles in different spaces. So I tried for a little bit for sure to ask it, can you make a mesh? I tried to ask it to do lofting. So it knows some of the Rhino features. You could ask it loft between two curves and it could describe the curves. I think using like SciPy, we can do an interpolation on the curve and then it would loft them, or even in Rhino, it'll just select like 3 points, create a curve. The point cloud was definitely the most successful version that I had, where I didn't have to care about order of vertices, indices of faces. It was just saying, I'll randomly sample within this function that you've created.
And have you tried Python in Composer as well? I mean, have you actually tried to go into Composer and use the Python script editor there to do similar things, or?
Oh, definitely. The blog article on NVIDIA was all in Composer, so kind of similar workflow. I took everything, put it in Composer. A lot of the work that I've been doing has been in Composer, and then Edmar was like, "Why don't you check out the new Rhino? It's got these new features, this new tool." And the first thing I saw, besides the USD part, it was the shrink wrap tool, and I just got lost in that for the last 2 days.
So here's a table also you worked on.
Yeah, this was the more practical version. I thought, okay, cool. I went from the Schwartz function, which I was just obsessed with because of the naming, but I thought it'd be really nice to have a Mobius strip table. Can I make more of a real industrial design object? The other function was like a ring, maybe make it a necklace, something like that. I like the Mobius strip. And it was the same concept. Asking ChatGPT, here's a known mathematical function. Can you give me a way to generate volume or points in the volume? And then once you create them, this it made an infinity curve. Like I asked it, I want it to look like an infinity symbol. Then give me parameters to change the height or change the width. Once I made one of the strips, then I asked it, could you duplicate it and then rotate it? So this video is just showing a little bit of that process. I have, this was like a weird result. So I can create this, because the two strips rotated and they're the same height, you get these like 4 points of context. And so I was thinking this is a really nice curved wooden table leg type of thing. Part of it is you can increase twisting. So the Mobius strip also can twist. So a lot of this is parametric in a way that I would have to spend quite a bit of time. I do know Grasshopper. I would have to spend some time thinking through describing all of the functions that don't currently exist. So Grasshopper has a ton of existing functions like Voronoi and Delaunay triangulation. There's a bunch there. And keeping again with the theme, instead of just making a circular tabletop, I asked ChatGPT to make a dense point cloud that would describe a circle that was on top of the Mobius strip, so that in this next step, when I do the shrink wrap, it'll apply it separately. So I apply it to both the legs, and then I apply it to the tabletop. And I do that specifically for materials and rendering. So when you apply it to the two separate ones, you get two separate bodies. And then I bring those bodies, I export them as USD, so I can bring them into Composer. So what number are we on?
Let me see. The next one would be the Omniverse texturing.
Okay, so this is the last one, and it just shows the same process of creating the mesh obstacle, and then I do the shrink wrap, then I do the subdivision again to create some nice geometry. Yeah, I would say the only part of Rhino that I really needed to manually do things was this new shrink wrap tool, because I don't really know what the API is behind the scenes. So I would change the target length a couple times. You can see because of the randomized point cloud, you would have to change the edge length enough to cover all the pieces.
It's wild,
So
man.
maybe we can like skip 30 seconds into the video.
I don't think StreamYard lets me.
Okay. Yeah, basically this part is polygon optimization. You can reduce the amount of triangles that you're creating as you change the target length.
Table's looking pretty cool.
So if you said polygons and mesh, you didn't do so well, and now you're doing point clouds, which is working a lot better. I wondered, you described that this is based off mathematical formulas. Have you tried it to actually create B splines and NURBS as a pure mathematical function?
Yeah, when I did the Mobius strip, that was how it started. So I asked it to create infinity curve. I asked it to create a Mobius strip, and then I was because you can't view things inside of ChatGPT that are using Rhino script syntax, I would have it to do matplotlib. So I would say, like, can you make this function, show it in matplotlib? It would try, and then it would create the segments of the edge for the Mobius strip along the spline. So that was how I was seeing that it was doing the thing it wanted, or I wanted it to do. Like, it was creating the form or the geometry, but getting it to order things wasn't working so well for me. There was a lot more manual work that I've done using ChatGPT. In Composer, I've used it to do a lot of like curve smoothing. So there's the Bezier curve, and in Composer, I did some extension plugin that was like curve distribute. So I put that somewhere online. It's called curve distribute. The idea was like, we want the array tool or the distribution tool. We just want to copy something along it. So that one, I would take the pencil drawing from Composer, and then I was using ChatGPT a lot to figure out how could I reinterpolate that curve so I can evenly space objects along it.
Very cool.
Very interesting. Now we're looking at some texture work.
Yeah, and then maybe this is the 6th video, or this is the 7th.
6. This 6.
So 6. This was, I exported directly from Rhino as a USD file, and then here I'm just opening that USD file same way as before, dragging on some materials, and then Omniverse has this. There's a little scale difference. I think I'm in Isaac Sim for this one, so it has some scale difference, and then I enabled the project UVW coordinates in real world space. So even when I was designing this, it wasn't really real world space. It was like I scaled everything down so I could work with the point cloud better. And that's why I came in and modified the materials. So bring in some wood and some glass and apply that. And from this one, I just kind of saved it. And then I think we can go on to the next video where I used Omniverse's
rendering.
Yeah.
Here we go. I'm telling someone should make this table. This is looking pretty cool.
Yeah. So here I took there's an AEC demo pack, which was pretty cool, and I searched through and I found this restaurant. I think it's the restaurant, and then I kind of just deleted everything that I didn't want except for the lounge and dragged in the USD file into here so I could look at, here's what my wooden curved Mobius strip table would look like inside of this space.
Very cool.
Well, yeah, that covers about everything. I just tried the different rendering.
Very nice. And yeah, I do really like that table, actually. It's a cool design. I could see this in a really nice house. Very cool. Thanks for so much putting all those videos together. And tell me about what's going on next with you. And so where's your research focus now that you're allowed to talk about?
Yeah, I guess a lot of the work we're doing is crowd simulation, computer graphics, and more high performance aspects of it. Doing industrial design work and figuring out a little bit. Now I'm interested, how can we use more generative AI for 3D modeling, sampling? There's some recent work that we published on reinforcement learning with humanoid robots with some other collaborators. So,
yeah, I think that there's going to be some cool stuff out of GTC on that stuff. I think Richard and I are actually working on a plan together to give live updates from GTC for those who can't make it. So we're going to try to do like daily recaps, some of the bigger announcements and sessions. And then obviously people have questions from the community that they want us to chase someone down with a microphone. We're happy to try to do that and report back. But I think it should be a great opportunity for people to learn a lot on Gen AI and AI in general. And like I said earlier, it's going to be OpenUSD Day relating to this topic, and pretty steady topic on this live stream. So a full day of OpenUSD sessions. I think there's going to be a little breakfast and stuff there too. So it'll be a lot of fun. So if you are coming out, anyone is coming out to GTC, definitely let Richard or myself know, anyone or Amelia on the community team, so that we can set up a meeting and help you meet with others too. Very cool, Matt. I want to thank you so much for preparing that material for us. I think, let me see. So I think the Rhino team, like I said, is probably going to be on the live stream on March 6th, Wednesday, March 6th. So any questions that we couldn't get to that you're curious about Rhino support on feature A or B, hold on to those questions. You can post it on the live stream channel and Discord server if you want for prosperity, and then we'll circle back to that in March 6th. But yeah, it's a good opportunity to talk to the devs directly and not too far away. Richard, anything burning on the community side you want to talk about really quick before we say goodbye to everybody?
No, nothing specifically. Just seeing some great work coming in as usual, and yeah, looking forward to GTC and hopefully meeting some of the community members.
Yeah, and we can't really talk about it, but Rich is working on a really cool project. It's all I'm going to say, but people stay tuned for that. But if you want to see all his rendering and beast mode, it's going to be a nice show and tell coming up that Rich has been working
Maybe
on.
next week.
Maybe next week? Really? Okay.
Maybe next week.
All right. Awesome. All right. So you heard it here. Next week it's happening. All right. Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate the great questions in chat. Thank you to Tanya. And thank you to Matt. Matt, I hope you have a very nice Valentine's Day as well. I don't smell anything cooking in your kitchen, but maybe it's because you're too far away right now.
Thanks for having me, Edmar.
Yeah, anytime. And thanks, Richard. We'll see everybody here on the forums or on Discord. So until then, have a great rest of the day.
Take care.